Have you ever met someone for the first time and felt like you already knew them? Or maybe you've had a fear that makes no sense at all, one that doesn't come from anything you've experienced in this life? Or perhaps you visited a place you've never been and thought, this feels like I've been here before. Hi, I'm Dr. Connie Numbers, and in today's video, I'm going to help you recognize the little signs in your own life that may be glimpses into your past lives and why those glimpses matter. You'll learn the signs that point the way in the places you feel drawn to, the people you connect with, and the callings inside you. So stick with me because these signs can give you the reassurance that you are eternal and that your story is so much bigger than just this lifetime. Now, for me, there is no doubt in my mind that all of us have had past lives, most likely hundreds of them. I mean, if you think about how old we are, why wouldn't we? And every lifetime is a chapter in the big book of who we are. Most of us don't remember them because, well, we're not supposed to. Think about it. If we carried all our past lives with us consciously, it would interfere with the lessons we came here to learn this time around. It'd be too much for us to handle. However, our soul still carries those memories, and from time to time, little pieces of them leak through. So how do we know when we're touching on something that could be a past life? Well, the first thing to notice is this. You'll always feel some kind of pull. It might be toward a place, a person, or even an experience. But the feeling is there, and it's unmistakable. So let's dive in and start with places. Have you ever traveled somewhere, maybe across the world, maybe just across your country or even your state, and you've had the feeling of, this feels like I've been here before? It feels like a déjà vu and strangely familiar. People describe it in different ways. Sometimes it's a sudden wave of recognition. Other times it's a quiet sense of comfort. And sometimes it feels like your body already knows this place, even if your mind doesn't. Well, I had that experience once in Spain. My husband and I went to an area of Spain called Malaga. And as soon as we started driving through the area, I felt unusually comfortable. Now, you need to know that at that time in my life, I wasn't very comfortable being away from home. So this feeling of ease really surprised me. The whole countryside felt so familiar, as if I'd been there before. Now, many people feel an even deeper version of this feeling, and that is when you go somewhere new and it not only feels familiar, it feels like home. Well, that's how I felt. Here I am in a place I've never set foot in, and I feel like it's home. And it's this sense that can be a powerful clue that you've lived there once before. And to top it off, as we were driving up a huge hill toward a small village, I had this gut feeling that as soon as we turned around the next curve, I knew what was going to be there. I knew what it was going to look like. I had a knowing I couldn't explain. And I was right. And there was no doubt in my mind that I had experienced this part of the world in one of my past lives. Now, some people experience an even deeper pull when they have a lifelong fascination with a particular place or culture or even a particular time period. Have you ever been fascinated with any of those? For example, maybe you've always been obsessed with Egypt or the American West or ancient Rome. You read the books, you watch the documentaries, you never get tired of it. You just have to know everything. You may never travel there, but you don't have to because in a way you're already there. So you see, this is a case where it's not just curiosity that's pulling you in. It's as if you're continuing a story you started long ago. And this kind of lifelong fascination is always a strong sign that your soul has lived many times in that place, that culture, or that era. Well, for me, in terms of a culture, There is no doubt in my mind that I've lived many American Indian lives. My first drawings as a 4-year-old were little figures with triangle heads and little Indian feathers sticking out of them. And as a child growing up in the 50s, well, some of you know what that's like. There were so many Westerns on TV, but no matter the show, I was always attached to the Indians, not the cowboys. I felt so sorry for them, and I still do. I feel very drawn to their culture, their love of Mother Earth, and their spiritual wisdom. And I can't watch Little Big Man or Dances with Wolves without some tears of remembering. So places and cultures can carry powerful pulls from past lives, but just as strong and sometimes even stronger are the pulls we feel toward people. So I know I asked you this earlier, but have you ever met someone for the first time and felt connected very quickly? You can't explain it, but it feels like you already know them? The conversation flows easily, there's a sense of comfort, and it's as if you're simply picking up where you left off. There's a pull forward. That's your soul recognizing someone you've walked with before. But it can happen the other way too. Sometimes you meet someone and instantly feel a pull back. They've done nothing wrong. Gee, they seem like a nice person. But something in you recoils and it doesn't make sense. And that right there is a clue that this too can be a glimpse into your past history with this particular person. And this doesn't just happen with strangers. It can show up in families. Maybe you've always felt unusually close to a grandparent or a sibling, or even one child over another, as if the bond is deeper than this lifetime alone. Or the opposite. You have a family member you've never really liked, even though they've done nothing to offend you. There's just something there you can't put your finger on. Now, I've had many experiences of knowing I have lived other lifetimes with people from this lifetime, especially those I feel really close to. But the greatest, most wackadoo past life moment I've ever had came about 28 years ago. And I'd love to tell you the whole story in detail because it's such a juicy, great story, but it'd be too long. So here's the Reader's Digest version. I was eating dinner with my husband and his mother in a tiny restaurant in Philadelphia, and I saw this woman walk in the door like a dancer, very elegant, and I couldn't take my eyes off of her. And wouldn't you know, she and her husband were seated right next to us. And as the night went on, my husband and mother-in-law were talking about me, just having received my doctoral degree, and suddenly the woman reached over and put her hand over mine and said, "I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. This is such a big accomplishment." I was a bit stunned, but I thanked her very much. So after finishing dinner, we were walking out of the restaurant, and for some reason, I just had to take one last look at her. And so I turned around, and there she was, standing in the doorway, looking straight at me, as if waiting for me to come back. So I did. I approached her, and I said, "I feel like I've known you before." To which she smiled and nodded and said, "I was your mother." And we hugged, and I left, and I walked on the street, and my body started to sob. Literally, I felt such a sense of loss. It didn't make sense. How could I feel all of that for a complete stranger? But it felt like I had found a long-lost love of some kind, and now I lost it again. I wanted to run back, but I didn't. And I knew something pretty spectacular had just happened. Now, not all of our past life connections with people are this dramatic, but I bet you've met someone you felt you've known before or known forever. These strong connections aren't random. They're little pieces of evidence that you've lived before, and that some of the people in your life now have walked beside you in other chapters of your story. So we've seen how past lives can show up in the places we feel pulled to and in the people we connect with. But there's one more way these glimpses come through, and that's in the things we carry within us. So let's talk about those. One of the clearest signs of a past life is in your talents and skills. Have you ever picked something up, an instrument, a paintbrush, or even a new language, and it felt so natural? That's more than talent. It's a remembering. You've done this before. And it doesn't have to be artistic. Maybe you've always had a natural way with animals or cooking. Some people can take apart and rebuild anything mechanical without ever being taught. Others have a green thumb, able to make anything grow. These abilities are lifetimes where you practice that very skill over and over and over again. So what looks like a gift in this lifetime is most likely a memory from a past one. Another way is through the work we're drawn to. Many of us feel called toward a certain kind of profession, even if it doesn't come from our upbringing. The healer, the teacher, the farmer, the builder, the nurse. These pulls aren't random. They are imprints carried over from lifetimes of practicing that very path. Now, there are some people who get a full-blown glimpse into a past life through a very vivid dream, but this is pretty rare. But what isn't rare are phobias and fears that we can't make sense of. Maybe it's a fear of water, or fire, or heights, or small spaces, or dogs. But nothing in our current life can explain it. What happens is, sometimes these fears bleed through from another lifetime, especially if something in your present life has triggered them. So the fear doesn't belong to this life, but it still lives in the memory of your soul. So sometimes it just gets stirred awake. So whether it shows up in places that feel familiar, people you're instantly drawn to, or in the talents and dreams and fears that live inside you, each of these is like a little hint that you've lived before. You don't need to know the exact details of who you were before, because that's not the point. The point is that every one of these signs reminds you that you are an eternal being. You've played many characters, lived many chapters, and this life is not only the one you're living now, it's the most important one you're in. And here's the beautiful part when you really start to believe that you're a soul having a human experience. You become less fearful because it soothes your fear of death. Because if you know that you've lived before, if you can really sense that, then you see that death isn't an ending. It's simply a turning of the page into the next chapter. And when you live with that awareness, you trust more, you love more, and you begin to see yourself as a beautiful soul who's so much bigger than the story of this one lifetime. So, if this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might enjoy it. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had experiences or memories that felt like they came from another lifetime? Oh, I'd love to hear them in your comments. But once again, until we meet again, always remember, there really is no one worth knowing more than you.